The cries of two infants pierced through the small, dusty room like the sound of a storm breaking a silent night. Michael and Nathan, just 3 months old, lay wailing on the old mattress. Their tiny fists flailed helplessly in the air as their mother, Linda, tossed her clothes into a weathered duffel bag with fury in her eyes. Her face was cold, sharp, carved with the frustration of dreams denied. Mr. Peters stood by the doorway, unsure whether to plead again or step aside. His hands trembled as he tried to soothe the air, but his voice came out soft and cracked. "The babies are crying," he said, almost in a whisper. "They need their mother." Linda didn't stop folding her clothes. Her hands moved quickly, her heart harder than stone. "They are no longer my concern," she snapped. "I'm leaving you." Peter took a step forward. "Please, if not for me, then for Michael and Nathan. Think of them. God gave us these boys." Linda turned then, her eyes wild and glassy. "I didn't marry you to suffer. Since you lost your job, everything has fallen apart. This life, this struggle, it's not what I signed up for." She zipped up the bag with finality and swung it over her shoulder. Then, with a glare that could melt steel, she added, "Don't come looking for me. And as for those babies, do whatever you want. I honestly don't care if they live or die." And with that, she was gone. The door slammed so hard the walls shook. Silence fell. The twins cried harder. Peter staggered backward, hitting the wall behind him. He let himself slide down to ground, his face buried in his hands. For a moment, it felt like everything he'd ever built collapsed in a single moment. Marriage, family, stability. But something pulled him back. A sound. No, 2 sounds. His sons. He crawled to the bed and gently picked them up, one on each arm. He rocked them, humming a lullaby his mother used to sing, even though his voice cracked with tears. "I may not have money," he whispered, "but I promise you both, I'll be the best father in the whole world." That night, sleep came in patches. Every cry from the twins dragged him back to life. He fed them with what little he had, water and powdered pap someone had gifted him the day before. The next morning came like a slap to the face. No food, no money, and 2 hungry mouths crying for milk. Peter looked at his old wheelbarrow outside, rusting in the morning sun. He strapped Michael and Nathan to his chest with a faded wrapper and headed to the market. At first, people stared. Some offered coins, some food, and a few words of pity. But others weren't so kind. "Enjoyment, master," one woman shouted. "When you were rolling in bed, you didn't think of consequence. Now look, suffer with babies like a madman." Peter didn't reply. He simply bowed his head and kept pushing loads for meager cash. By evening, his shirt was soaked in sweat, and his arms ached from lifting heavy sacks. But he had earned enough for milk and paracetamol syrup from the pharmacy. The kind pharmacist even gave him a small discount. Back home, he fed the twins. They were still small, but they drank with an energy that gave him hope. As the days passed, the market became his workplace and his babies his world. He had no mother to call, no siblings to lean on. It was just him and the boys. Then one morning, as he prepared for another long day, an old neighbor knocked gently on his door. It was Mama Caro, wrinkled, bent with age, but always kind. "Let me take care of the boys today," she said. Peter hesitated. "They'll be safe," she assured him. "You've done well, my son. But these children need shade from the sun. Let me help." And so began a new rhythm. Peter worked. Mama Caro cared for the twins. Over time, Michael and Nathan grew stronger. They giggled when their father returned in the evening, their tiny hands reaching out for his dusty face. And he smiled. He felt purpose. He felt alive again. But fate, as always, was not finished. One evening, as he returned from work, he found Mama Caro outside her door, gasping for breath. Peter rushed forward, helping her inside. Her voice was weak, but her eyes still bright. "I'll be fine," she said. "But, Peter, you must prepare. You're doing a great job. But hard times are still ahead." Peter didn't sleep that night. He held his boys close, afraid, not just of poverty, but of what could happen if the little support system he had, even Mama Caro, disappeared. Little did he know, A bigger test was coming, one that would make him question whether love and sacrifice were ever enough in a world ruled by money. The sun rose over the rusted rooftops of the neighborhood, casting warm gold across the quiet street. Inside his small one-room apartment, Peter sat on a stool, staring at two forms sleeping peacefully on the bed, Michael and Nathan, now grown into spirited 18-year-olds. Years had passed since Linda slammed the door on them. She was now a ghost in their lives, unspoken, unforgiven, but the boys never lacked love. Peter had given them everything: time, discipline, and sacrifice. From carrying them as infants on his back while pushing loads in the market, to teaching them morals at bedtime. He had shaped them into fine young men. The boys had just returned from writing their WAC and JAM exams, and they were buzzing with excitement. That afternoon, they burst into the room, practically falling over each other. "Daddy," Michael shouted, waving 2 sheets of paper. "We passed." Peter's heart skipped. "Let me see." They handed over the results slips with pride. Michael had scored 325. Nathan, always the bookworm, scored an astonishing 341. Both had been accepted to study medicine and surgery at the same university. Peter's eyes welled with tears. "You've made me proud," he whispered, hugging them tight. "Now I can walk through this neighborhood like a king. My sons will be doctors." They laughed together, the room filled with celebration. But later that night, when the boys were asleep, Peter sat in the darkness of his room. His joy was overshadowed by dread. He reached under the bed for a small box, his savings. After counting and recounting the money, he buried his face in his hands. It wasn't even enough to register one child. "All these years of hustling," he whispered, "and I still can't give them what they truly deserve." His voice cracked. The pain of helplessness pierced deeper than hunger. But as tears rolled down his face, a fire lit inside him. "No," he muttered, standing up. "I won't let poverty write their future. I will do whatever it takes." At dawn, instead of heading to the market with his wheelbarrow, Peter wore his only clean shirt and walked to a wealthy man's mansion in the neighborhood. The gates were guarded, but his desperation made him bold. The guard looked him up and down. "What do you want here this early?" "I want to see Chief Yuzo," Peter said, voice steady. "Please tell him, Peter, the wheelbarrow pusher, want to speak with him." After some hesitation, the guard disappeared into the compound. Minutes later, Chief Yuzo emerged in silk pajamas and designer slippers, yawning as he eyed Peter. "What's this about?" Peter fell to his knees. "Please, sir, I beg you, let me work for you. Wash your cars, clean your house, cook for your family. Just help send my boys to school. I'll serve you with my whole life. I'll be your houseboy if that's what it takes." The rich man squinted. "Medical school for 2 boys? That's not child's play." "I know, sir, but they deserve a chance. They're brilliant. Their results can prove it." Chief Yuzo shook his head slowly. "Sorry, I don't train children who aren't mine." And with that, he turned and walked away. Peter tried again, and again. He knocked on the gates of 5 other wealthy homes that week, repeating the same plea. Every answer was the same: no. By Friday evening, Peter was broken. His feet were swollen, his heart heavier than ever. He returned home in silence. Michael and Nathan noticed the difference immediately. "Daddy," Nathan said gently, "what's wrong?" Peter sat them down. He didn't want to lie. "My sons," he began, eyes glistening, "I'm sorry. I failed you both." "Don't say that," Michael interrupted. Peter raised a hand. "Let me speak. I made a promise the day your mother walked away, that I'd raise you right. And by God's grace, I did. But I have nothing. I've knocked on every door, begged with every pride I had left. I don't have money for your school fees." The room went quiet. Peter turned away to hide his tears. Then Michael stood up and said firmly, "You've never failed us. You gave us love, values, and strength." Nathan added, "And we're not giving up. We'll find a way." That night, Peter knelt beside his bed again, not just in tears, but in prayer. His voice trembled, almost childlike. "Lord, they've done their part. I have nothing left to give. Please, God, help me. for their sake. Unbeknownst to him, the twins were awake, listening from behind the curtain. Hearing their father cry broke something inside them. The next morning, Michael and Nathan rose early. They packed their result slips and headed to the university. When they returned, they told Peter, "We deferred our admission for a year." "What?" he asked, shocked. Nathan smiled, though his eyes were tired. "We're going to work, save money. We're not giving up on school. But we're also not going to watch you die trying." They began applying for jobs immediately. After dozens of rejections, a humble but clean restaurant finally offered them a chance. As waiters, they worked with dignity, greeted guests with genuine smiles, and served food like they were serving royalty. Their manners drew admiration. Customers tipped them generously. Some men tried to tempt them with shortcuts, but the twins never took the bait. Every night, they counted their earnings and knelt with their father pray. Then, one evening, just as the skies turned orange and the tables were being wiped, Michael found a black briefcase under a chair. "Look, Nathan," he whispered. "Someone forgot this." They opened it carefully. It was full of documents and thousands of US dollars. Michael gasped, "This person must be rich." But without hesitation, they closed the case and took it home. Their father nodded when they explained, "You did the right thing. Don't worry. Whoever owns it will come back for it." The next morning, as predicted, a worried-looking man in a black SUV waited outside the restaurant. "Did you see a black briefcase here yesterday?" he asked anxiously. "Yes, sir," Michael said, retrieving it. The man took it quickly, murmured, "Thank you," and drove off without another word. They were disappointed, just a little. "Not even a thank you note," Nathan joked. But fate had a funny way of rewarding honesty, because that wasn't the last they would see of the man. And when he returned, everything was about to change. The day after the twins returned the briefcase, the restaurant hummed with its usual flow. Michael took orders while Nathan cleaned tables with his usual meticulous touch. They hadn't given much thought to the mysterious man in the SUV. Their father had taught them not to expect rewards for doing the right thing. But just past noon, as the heat pressed down on the city like a blanket, a familiar black SUV pulled up quietly in front of the restaurant. The door opened and the same man stepped out, though this time his demeanor was different. His face was calm, even smiling. "Good afternoon," he said, approaching the twins. "I didn't introduce myself yesterday. I'm Prince Tony." Michael and Nathan exchanged quick glances. "Good afternoon, sir," they replied in unison. "I came to say thank you properly," Prince Tony said. "You saved not just a briefcase, but something far more valuable. Legal documents, property deeds, and contracts I was about to finalize before traveling abroad. If you too hadn't returned it, everything would have been ruined." Nathan nodded politely. "We were just raised to do the right thing, sir." Prince Tony smiled. "And that's why I'm not just here to say thank you." He gestured toward his car. "Come with me." Confused but curious, the twins followed. Prince Tony drove them through the city and pulled up in front of a large building, 3 stories tall, freshly painted, with glass windows and a spacey lot. "This is yours now," he said calmly. The boys froze. "What?" Michael breathed out. "I've transferred ownership to your names. I bought it last year to use as a backup commercial space, but your honesty reminded me that some things are more valuable than profit. Turn this into your dream restaurant, or whatever you wish. I've seen how hard you work. Now build something greater." Michael and Nathan were too stunned to speak. Their eyes burned with tears they fought to hold back. "Thank you, sir," Nathan finally whispered. We don't even know how to thank you." Prince Tony smiled warmly. "Do good, and help others when your time comes. That's all the thanks I need." The boys hugged him, not caring who saw. They immediately called their father. "Daddy," Nathan shouted through the phone, "come to the market gate. Right now. We have a surprise." Peter, sweaty and tired from pushing his barrow, arrived minutes later. When he saw his sons hopping out of a shiny car and running toward him, he blinked. "What's going on?" he asked. They didn't answer. They only grabbed his hands and pulled him along. When they arrived at the building, Peter stood frozen. "Daddy, this is our new restaurant," Michael said with a proud grin. Nathan added. The man we helped gave it to us. Peter's knees buckled slightly. He leaned against the wall, shaking his head in disbelief. You mean this building is yours? No, ours. Tears streamed down his face. His sons, the same babies he once rocked to sleep with empty pockets, had brought him to a place he never thought possible. That evening, they sat at home, sharing a modest dinner of yam porridge and laughter. But Michael's tone turned serious. Dad, we've been thinking it's time you stop working. Peter paused. What? You've carried us far enough, Nathan said. We've got this now. The restaurant is our future. You deserve to rest. Peter smiled gently, his heart full, but he didn't argue. Over the next few weeks, the building was transformed into a modern restaurant. Prince Tony didn't stop at handing over the keys. He furnished the space with brand new equipment. Stainless steel ovens, gleaming countertops, polished chairs, fine dining tables, and high-quality kitchenware. The grand opening was a success. Customers poured in, many curious to see the famous twin brothers who had been rewarded for their honesty. Peter no longer pushed a barrow. Instead, he stood proudly near the cashier, dressed in a simple, clean shirt, managing suppliers and greeting customers like a seasoned businessman. The restaurant soon became more than just a place to eat. It became a symbol of second chances. One afternoon, a frail, dusty woman entered the restaurant, nervously twisting her fingers. Her face was thinner, older, and hardened by the weight of time. I'm looking for work, she said. Please? I can wash dishes, clean, anything. The hostess, a polite young lady, led her to the office. Michael and Nathan looked up from the kitchen. The woman stepped inside. Peter was there too, and when he turned to face her, time froze. Linda, their mother. She hadn't seen Peter yet. Her eyes scanned the twins and softened, unsure why they looked so familiar. Peter took a step forward. You're working here? His voice was calm but heavy. She turned, her eyes now meeting his. Shock paralyzed her. Peter nodded slowly. These are your sons, Michael and Nathan. Linda gasped. No, I didn't know. Nathan's face went pale. Michael's jaw tightened. Linda fell to her knees. I'm sorry, she wept. I was young, foolish. I thought I could escape. I didn't realize what I was leaving behind. Peter didn't speak. His sons stood silent, the moment too thick with memories. Michael spoke first. I don't know you, he said, voice trembling. You left us. You threw us away. Linda reached out. Please, I have nowhere else to go. Nathan stepped forward. If we were not raised right, you wouldn't even be standing here now. But we were raised by a real parent, and he taught us mercy. Michael turned to his brother, then looked at Peter. She can work, but not as our mother. Peter didn't object. He only nodded. Linda, trembling, was led to the kitchen sink. The restaurant continued to grow. The twins never treated her cruelly, but they never called her mother either. Not yet. Forgiveness, like cooking, sometimes needed time. But no one, not even Linda, could deny one truth. Peter's love had carried them all this far. For weeks after Linda began working the restaurant, the atmosphere grew tense. Michael and Nathan had kept their word. They allowed her to stay, but not as a mother. To them, she was a staff member, one who was given mercy, not affection. At first, Linda was quiet and obedient. She scrubbed pots, washed plates, and kept to herself. But slowly, her true nature began to slip through the cracks like smoke from a hidden fire. Her voice, once subdued, grew sharper with each passing day. This is not how you clean a plate, she snapped at a younger staff one afternoon. Are you waiting for your ancestors to help you? The kitchen froze. Another time, she yelled at a delivery man for being 3 minutes late, causing a scene that spilled into the customer area. Complaints began to trickle in. Waiters were becoming nervous. Kitchen staff were quitting, and the restaurant's warm energy started to cool. Michael noticed first. Nathan, ever the peacemaker, brushed it off. Maybe she's just struggling to adjust. Michael wasn't convinced. She's beginning to poison the same place we worked so hard to build. We gave her a chance, and now she's walking on our necks. Peter remained silent for the most part. He observed his sons, watched Linda from a distance, and carried a burden they didn't see. He still remembered the woman he had married, the pain she caused, and the door she had slammed on them. One night, after the restaurant closed, Michael and Nathan sat their father down. "We need to let her go," Michael said bluntly. Peter nodded slowly. "She is still your mother, but she is breaking our staff. Our business, our peace," Nathan added, his voice uncharacteristically firm. Peter sighed, rubbed his tired eyes, and looked at them. "Then you must do what's best for your future. I can't fight you. Just don't fight each other." The next morning, Michael and Nathan sat Linda down in the office. She came in wearing her apron and head wrap, her face hard and unreadable. "We've made a decision," Michael said calmly. Linda crossed her arms. "About what?" "You'll no longer be working here," Nathan said softly. The words hit her like a slap. "What did your father tell you? He poisoned your minds against me, didn't he?" "No one poisoned anything," Michael said, his voice rising slightly. "You did that all by yourself. We gave you a second chance, and you used it to tear others down. You're just like your father," she spat, standing up, "always playing victim, sitting at home like a king while the rest of us serve him." Michael's face hardened. "Don't you dare insult my father." "I'm your mother," she snapped. "You lost that right the day you walked away and said you didn't care if we lived or died," Nathan said coldly. "That man, our father, carried us when you dropped us." Linda's shoulders sagged. Her voice cracked for the first time. "Please, I just wanted a better life. I didn't know the price." "We're not asking for your apology," Michael said. "We're giving you space and a way to rebuild on your own." They handed her an envelope filled with cash and documents for a small kiosk just outside the neighborhood. "You'll manage this on your own. No one will mistreat you, but you're not welcome here anymore." She took the envelope slowly, her fingers trembling. "So this is it?" she whispered. "This is mercy," Nathan said, "not revenge." She left the restaurant in silence. And that evening, the air shifted. The workers smiled more. The kitchen flowed again. Customers returned. The soul of the place revived. The boys expanded operations slowly but steadily. With their restaurant thriving once more, Michael and Nathan began considering opening a second branch. They held business seminars, mentored younger entrepreneurs, and their faces appeared in small business magazines. Peter watched them from afar, proud and quiet, but something tugged at his heart. One Sunday morning, as they gathered for breakfast, Michael turned to his father. "Daddy, we've talked. It's time for your next chapter." Peter raised a brow. "Another chapter?" Nathan grinned. "You've given us your whole life, but we think it's time for you to find joy again." Michael continued. "We met someone. Her name is Ruth. She's a widow. She works in our Guarimpa branch, kind, smart, and strong." Peter choked a little on his tea. "You want to marry me off?" Nathan laughed. "No, Daddy. We want you to meet her. If it clicks, it clicks. But don't spend the rest of your life alone." Peter didn't respond immediately, but later that night, as he sat on the veranda watching the stars, he whispered, "Maybe, just maybe." A few weeks later, he met Ruth, and indeed, something clicked. They shared stories of loss and faith, of starting over and letting go. Ruth had 2 younger children who instantly adored Peter. His calm presence reminded them of a father they barely remembered. And so, a quiet wedding was planned. Michael and Nathan stood proudly at their father's side. Ruth's children beamed, and Mama Caro, now frail but honored, stood as the chief mother of the day. 3 weddings were celebrated that day, Michael, Nathan, and Peter, all finding love, all walking into new seasons with grace. But while joy filled the air, something else stirred quietly on the horizon. Unbeknownst to them, Linda had not left the city entirely, and someone from her past had arrived in town, carrying a secret tie to Peter's life and a name he hadn't heard in decades, a name that threatened to unravel everything they had built. The restaurant was alive with laughter, aromas, and music. It had become more than just a business. It was now a community pillar. Peter, finally at peace, spent most days reading on the shaded porch behind the restaurant, sometimes helping Ruth's younger children with their homework. Michael and Nathan had opened a second branch in Abuja, and had started mentoring other young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. Their story had been featured on several radio shows. Twin sons of the Barrow Man, they were often called. But while the family was busy building a legacy, someone else was busy digging into the past. One overcast afternoon, a man in a sharp navy suit entered the original restaurant. His presence caused an immediate stir. He looked like someone with power, yet walked like someone with a mission. "Good afternoon," he greeted the hostess. "I'm looking for Mr. Peter." Michael, who happened to be near the cashier, stepped forward. "He's resting in the back. Can I help you?" The man removed his sunglasses slowly. "You must be one of the twins. I'm Barrister Idris Aliyinka. I represent the estate of one Mr. Bernard Okoye." Michael blinked. "I'm sorry, we don't know anyone by that name." The man gave a tight smile. "Your father will." He handed Michael an envelope. Michael took it to Peter, who sat on his favorite bamboo chair reading the newspaper. "Dad," he said, suddenly uneasy, "a lawyer just came. He said you'll understand this." Peter's eyes narrowed as he opened the envelope. Inside were two documents, one a legal will and the other a letter handwritten in cursive. As Peter read, the color drained from his face. "Dad," Nathan asked, walking in from the kitchen. "What's going on?" Peter lowered the letter slowly. "It's time you both knew something I buried a long time ago." The twin sat beside him, alarmed. "I wasn't born Peter Ajayi," he began quietly. "My real name is Chuka Okoye." Michael's mouth dropped open. Nathan leaned in. "What?" Peter continued. "I was the first son of Bernard Okoye, a multimillionaire businessman in Enugu. But my stepmother hated me. When my father died suddenly, she destroyed the will and forced me out of family estate. I was just 19. I ran. I changed my name. I wanted a quiet life, a peaceful life." He paused, sighing deeply. "The only thing I took from that life was a gold ring, my father's, and the memory of his final promise. You'll always be my legacy, Chuka." "But what happened to the estate?" Nathan asked. Peter tapped the letter. "Apparently, the original was recently found by a construction crew demolishing part of the family house, hidden in a wall. And it names me, not my stepmother or her sons, as the true heir." The room went completely still. Barrister Idris entered quietly behind them. "Mr. Chuka Okoye, my firm has verified everything. The estate, including several properties and business shares, now legally belongs to you." Peter looked at his sons, stunned. "I don't even know how to feel." Michael was the first to speak. "Dad, for so long, we thought your strength was pushing that barrow, raising us alone, sacrificing everything." Nathan added, "But now we know your strength wasn't just about struggle. It was about humility. You had wealth in your blood, but never chased it. You just gave us love." Peter looked away, emotion overtaking him. "I never wanted you boys to feel like life owed you anything. I wanted you to earn your name, not borrow mine." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. Peter reclaimed the Okoye estate, though he chose to keep the family name Ajayi for public life. A portion of the inheritance was used to expand the restaurant chain into 3 more cities. But the biggest surprise came when Peter returned to Enugu, not for revenge, but for closure. He visited the crumbling family house and stood in front of it with tears in his eyes. "I'm back, Papa," he whispered, "and I brought your grandsons with me." Back in Abuja, Linda received the news of Peter's fortune like a dagger. She came again, not in rags this time, but in designer clothes, makeup, and flattery. "My children," she cried as she stood before the restaurant. "My husband, God has remembered us." But Michael and Nathan didn't even blink. Nathan spoke softly. "You were gone when we were dust. You can't return now that we're gold." Peter said nothing. He simply turned and walked back inside, Ruth's hand gently resting in his. Linda wept outside for hours, but no one came. Time passed. Michael and Nathan no longer wanted to become doctors. Their passion had shifted. They were now businessmen, philanthropists, and living proof that love could survive abandonment and that strength could grow in broken places. Their father, once just a man with a wheelbarrow and 2 crying infants, was now a respected entrepreneur, mentor, and a beloved husband once more. On his 60th birthday, the family held a grand celebration. Guests came from all corners of Nigeria. The banner read, "Celebrating Mr. Peter Chuka Ajayi, a father, a fighter, a foundation." When Peter stepped forward to give his speech, his voice cracked from emotion. "I once begged on my knees for someone to help my sons go to school," he said. "Today, those same sons feed hundreds, employ dozens, and inspire thousands. I lost everything once. But God gave me back more than I ever dreamed, because I chose love over bitterness and integrity over shortcuts." The audience stood, the applause roared, and through it all, Peter smiled, not because he had wealth now, but because he had something rarer. 2 sons who never forgot where they came from, and a future that honored everything he fought for.